It's the Volquest 2-minute drill on this Thursday. Tennessee wrapping up practice number 2. They'll have the day off tomorrow. But before we get going there, Bryson DeChambeau with the Reebok.
Whatever.
Let's talk about exactly. Let's talk about the takeaways from today. We heard from Alec Abram, and we heard from 6 different players, 6 different freshmen, including a couple of tight ends that have drastically changed their body.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first takeaway is this is a pretty polished group, a mature group of freshmen that visited with the media today. But let's start first with the tight ends, because we know where their top 2 guys are, and then the question is, with those 2 freshmen, how far along can they come? And I think it's interesting in Jack Van Dorselaer. I think we all believe and has believed is ahead because of his physicality, the program he came from. But I mean, Deshaun Brame is 30 pounds heavier than what he was, and has a sense of urgency about him. I think both those guys are going to play. I think both those guys are going to help Alec Abram's group. And I think both those guys have a ton of confidence in themselves. And I think the veterans and Ethan Davis and Miles Kitselman have instilled a lot of confidence in those guys this offseason.
Yeah, you can tell Van Dorselaer is feeling himself pretty good right now. Not in a cocky way, but like, I think was unsure about wanting to even play tight end when he got here in January because he had played defensive line last year and had made a bunch of plays at South Lake Carroll playing defensive line. Then he had a really solid spring playing tight end, has backed that up. They give him the number 3, which is a sexier number than number, whatever he had in spring. And then Brame all of a sudden said, wait a minute. And I mean, Brame, as good as Jack looks, Brame, he's got traps, he's got a big thick neck, and all of a sudden, he's put on north of 30 pounds, and I'm telling you, you have to like where they're at that position for the future.
Well, and I think the future in part is now because they're going to both play some, but you're exactly right. I think you look at both those guys and you say, man, I think both those guys have a chance to be really good players in this league.
Yeah.
And physically, they're going to be there. They're going about it, getting there in different ways because Jack Van Dorselaer is learning more about running routes. Deshaun Brame's learning more about footwork in the run game. But both those guys with development are going to be really good players.
Then let's talk about David Sanders, who told us he's put on 38, but it's cooler to say he put on 40.
Absolutely, roll with 40.
And you can tell, he just looks drastically bigger.
Yeah, I was watching him day one on the practice field. They have no pads. I was kind of just watching how he walked from one rep, when he finished a rep and he kind of walked back to get it in line. And I went, oh, he walks like an offensive lineman, And in spring, you really didn't kind of see that. He kind of walks a little bit like Fred Weary did when Fred Weary was young, and just kind of Juwan James looks like an offensive lineman. I think the biggest takeaway from David Sanders knew the pressure and the expectation on him. David Sanders arrived at Tennessee with confidence that he was going to be a good college player. Yeah. I think he has the confidence now that he is much closer to being a good college player than he was. I think he has a lot of belief in where he's at. He talked about it today, just how much more physical he felt in one-on-ones against defensive linemen compared to spring practice. His knowledge of the offense and how much work he's put in this summer to learn the offense, I think gives him a ton of confidence going into pads.
Then we look at the receivers. We got to hear from all 3 of those guys today. And I asked Rodarius Jackson, I said, Rodarius, your birthday is not till like next week, like August 5th. He turns 18. He said, that means he's 17 right now. And he said, man, Coach Heupel said the young guys don't have a choice to be young. Like, we got to keep going. And it's a great mindset. But, he's, he's a guy that, like, trying to build off what he did in the spring, playing with a lot more confidence. Travis Smith the same way. And Joakim Dotson is trying to figure himself out, having just arrived a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I think that the challenge for them is to be patient in learning it, but learning with urgency. And I think there's a line that you have to walk there. Because, look, those guys are going to play. Travis Smith and those guys, they're running first-team reps right now. And they're going to be dudes. They're going to have to play. This is not an ease in, this is not last year Mike Matthews might get some run against whatever payday schools coming to town. These guys are going to play week 1 and right out of the gate. So the challenge for them and the challenge for Kelsey Pope is teach it to it, feed it to them the right way so they don't get flooded and lost here in the middle of fall camp so that they're ready to go in August. I think from a physical talent standpoint, it's always there. I just think mentally, how quickly can they grasp enough to be proficient in what they need them to do on the field.
Tennessee will have the day off tomorrow from practice. They'll obviously be around the complex working on their own. They'll return to the practice field on Saturday morning, where we'll get to hear from Coach Inge and more players. He is Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price for the VolQuest 2-Minute Drill.